Welcome to Thinker's where we dive deep into the geopolitics, economics, and diplomacy shaping South Asia. I'm your host, Zillur Rahman. In today's episode, we explore the rising tension between two close yet complicated neighbors, India and Bangladesh. As a sudden trade restriction triggers not just economic shockwaves, but also diplomatic ripples across the region. What caused this latest conflict? Who is winning? Who is losing? And most importantly, what is next? Let's unpack the crisis. India and Bangladesh share a complex yet deeply interwoven economic and political relation. This relationship is rooted in shared history, geography, and cultural exchange, but practically in bilateral trade. However, recent decisions from both sides have now led this partnership into rough water. India's sudden ban on several key Bangladeshi exports through land ports has thrown a wrench into a smoothly functioning system. For Bangladesh, this is more than a temporary disruption. It's an economic jolt, particularly affected are sectors that export to India's seven sister states: processed food, household plastic goods, biscuits, juice, furniture, and traditional apparel like saris and loom. Thousands of small and medium enterprises are now under pressure. These businesses rely on quick, cost-effective land transportation across the border. With the route shut, companies are left scrambling. Shipments stuck, orders suspended, production lines halt. From India's side, the move seems to be a retaliatory response to Bangladesh's recent restriction on Indian iron imports through land ports. But the asymmetry is glaring. India gave no lead time before enforcing its restrictions. This abruptness intensified the shock, damaged trust, and stirred anti-India sentiments across Bangladesh. More alarmingly, the effects might not remain confined to trade. Electricity is a significant area of dependence. Bangladesh currently imports around 2,500 megawatt of power from India, accounting for nearly 17% of its total supply. Any disruption is in that supply, especially amid unpaid bills and growing tensions with Adani Power, could risk plunging parts of Bangladesh into darkness. Let's look at the broader trade imbalance. Bangladesh imports roughly $9 billion worth of goods from India annually, while its exports total less than $1.6 billion. That gives India significant leverage in trade diplomacy, but also a greater responsibility to act fairly and transparently. India's tactic here resembles what political theorists call gate closing policy, a practice India previously used with Nepal during before disputes. The fallout then was clear. Surging anti-India sentiment, that same sentiment is now rising again in Bangladesh, fueled by economic anxiety, perceived Indian arrogance, and a sense of betrayal in the wake of political transitions in Dhaka. But the blame cannot rest solely on India. Bangladesh, too, must reflect on its over-dependence and the lack of diversified trade routes. Yes, India is a close neighbor, but that proximity should never translate into vulnerability. It's time Bangladesh reduces its strategic dependence on a single partner and actively pursues diversified regional trade. On the Indian side, many importers in West Bengal and the Northeast are now suffering. Bangladeshi products, especially food and light manufacturing, are in high demand. Without them, costs are rising and inventories thinning. The disruption hurts both sides. The only way forward, dialogue, not retaliation. Bangladesh government must immediately initiate formal talks with New Delhi. A joint high-level committee of trade and foreign affairs officials supported by chambers of commerce from both countries should work toward a resolution. Countermeasures by Bangladesh would be counterproductive. The reality is Bangladesh's industrial imports, machinery, raw materials, and essential consumer goods heavily depend on Indian imports. Finding short-term alternatives is not feasible. Instead, The response should be diplomatic and strategic. Bangladesh must strengthen its business diplomacy, a mix of official talks and private sector engagement, not only with India but also through regional platforms like SAPTA, BIMSTEC, and ASEAN Observatory. Meanwhile, the current disruption must serve as a wake-up call. Bangladesh needs to boost export diversification, build resilience in logistics, and invest in alternative trade corridors, whether by sea, through Bhutan and Nepal, or even greater integration with Southeast Asia and China. For now, the small manufacturers are in trouble. Warehouses are filling up. Orders are paused. Buyers are losing confidence. This is not just a trade issue, it's a reputational and structural crisis. India, as the larger power, must also act with greater maturity. Trade diplomacy is not about leverage alone. It's about fostering durable, equitable partnerships. Bangladesh is not just a market, it's a strategic ally, a cultural neighbor, and a regional pair with growing influence. India must remember that true leadership is not measured by dominance, but by restraint and responsibility. That's it for this episode of Tritiyo. The India Bangladesh trade tension is more than a border issue. It's a test of strategic passions, economic foresight, and regional diplomacy. The crisis is real, but so are the opportunities for cooperation. If both sides choose maturity over machismo. If you found today's analysis insightful, please share, subscribe, and join the conversation. I'm Zillur Rahman, signing off. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged.